7 years ago, I gave birth to a baby at 24 weeks with 370 grams weight, which is considered a miracle. And this was the third time they tell me to terminate.
You are hypervigilant.
I had this very strong gut feeling.
Statistically, you can say it's a zero chance, but you pulled it off. Ivanna pulled it off somehow to be that extremely rare exception.
I hear the voice of God, literally. Look, she's absolutely okay, just like, it's gonna be okay. I am a big believer in miracles. A child needs like a very high vibrational mother who exudes faith, exudes love, exudes healing. And I was just surrendering into God's hands and just saying, look, it's your way.
I'm choosing this. I'm choosing all of this.
Yeah.
I'm completely responsible for all of that. Everything I'm complaining about, in the end, I'm responsible for.
That's what I love about you, and this is what you taught me a lot, and just speaking your absolute truth, unapologetically, being completely authentic, but yet providing so much love and care. You're the only person in my life who asks me so often, like, how can I support you now?
So how much time did you spend in the hospital during this 4 months?
I was there, I lived there.
So 4 months you lived in the hospital?
Yeah, there was a small bench that I lived on. I had to pump breast milk every 2 hours so that the breast milk doesn't disappear. So if you think about it, like, with all the beeping of the machines and pumping every 2 hours, like, I just didn't sleep for 4 months. No, it was the amount of sleep exhaustion. It's
that sounds like what they would use for torture.
Yeah, I'll briefly tell you like the whole 4 months in like a super brief overview. Literally in the first couple of days, there was a scare that she won't poop. They're like, she's not pooping. And then there was a scare that she has an infection. They put her on antibiotics. And if you put a baby this small on antibiotics, it can just kill the gut.
Is that even appropriate for a kid this size?
If there's infection, they have to put on antibiotics because any infection would kill you.
Right.
It was a scare, but it wasn't an infection, actually, in the end. And then she's had, there's been lots of scares. But somehow she didn't go through any major, huge scares. Like, she didn't, these babies have a high risk of gut infection. I forget the name. And if your gut is infected, like, the possibility of dying is very high, or like having short gut syndrome where your intestine is so small because they have to cut it out. If there's a gut infection, they have to cut out the intestines.
The intestines.
The intestines. And then there's a thing called short gut syndrome, which a lot of these babies have. I know people who gave birth at 27, 28 weeks, and they had to remove intestines for the baby because of the infection. It's a very, very common thing. Ivanna didn't have it, thank God. Ivanna had another kind of infection. Ivanna had an eye surgery. It's not an eye surgery, it's like a needle in her eye because she started to develop retinopathy. Anyways, wow. This is like another huge thing. It's another podcast.
What? I never heard of that. She got a needle in her eye?
Yeah, it's exactly 40 weeks. Usually when you reach 40 weeks, it's like a celebration. And I remember doctors came to my room and they're like, we gotta give her a needle in the eye. It was a buzz killer.
To celebrate. Wow.
Yeah, because the eye checkups for these babies is so scary.
So
because
what is that? What is retinopathy?
So because the baby is exposed to so much oxygen with the mask, the oxygen can cause blood vessels in your eye to grow. Yeah. That's why Stevie Wonder is blind. He was premature and he had retinopathy of prematurity. Oh. During those times, there was no magical needle that can cure this. Right. Now there's just a needle in your eye and it takes care of it. In the worst cases, you can have like a laser eye surgery. But anyways, eye exams are scary because the baby screams and they put these like tonsils that open the eyes.
This kid had to endure so much.
You have no idea.
You have no idea. Stress.
The amount of stress that these premature babies
so much drama
go through at this young age is so big.
The sounds and the lights and the complete lack of control.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound very womby anymore. Huh?
They're basically on oxygen, right? And there's a thing called spells when all of a sudden the oxygen saturation in the blood goes down, so the machines start to beep and nurse has to run and adjust the oxygen so that it doesn't go too low. Once like the nurse's battery or something died on the alarm, and she didn't come. And I see like the oxygen's going lower and lower and lower. And I start freaking out. And I call another nurse. I'm like, stop that. This nurse walks in and she started to literally resuscitate Ivanna. She was almost gone.
Because some battery died or something?
Something like that. Yeah. And if I wasn't there, I can't even imagine. That's why I slept at the hospital. I lived there for 4 months. Yeah.
No room for other unforeseen.
Yeah, there was a day when
glitches.
I held her on my chest for like 8-10 hours a day because I knew it was good. But she was a miracle. At 33 weeks, they removed her from all oxygen, which is impossible.
At 34 weeks?
The station, it's impossible. They would give her like a little bit of low flow afterwards just because you get tired. But she was pretty much breathing on her own after 34 weeks. It's unheard of because these babies go home with oxygen tanks. Because their lungs they can't breathe on themselves even when they're discharged. At home, they're with oxygen tanks. And the one at 33 weeks was like...
I feel spoiled for how long I didn't have to do that in my mother's womb.
Yeah, she's a miracle in so many ways.
Working.
She was a miracle in so many ways. And the fact that she's like so talented, she speaks a few languages, she draws, she sings, like... Weight was her biggest struggle for a long time, but she's catching up. We've had some struggles with pneumonias and lung disease, like all these preemies, their lungs are different. They're more prone to like bronchitis and pneumonias. But I still feel like we had a mild version.
You wouldn't know it if you looked at her.
You wouldn't know.
The only thing that could give it away, but it's almost not noticeable, is that her one nostril is a bit bigger than the other because she was super, super, super tiny when she had to get intubated for oxygen.
That's how you know. This is actually from it's from the feeding tube.
Feeding tube.
And from because
and
from the masks. Yeah.
Right.
This is how you know somebody's preemies if their nostril one is bigger.
That, yeah.
It's every preemie has it.
Because actually there's a specific history that goes far back.
It's very like barely noticeable. You will also notice in her hairline, because of all those masks, her hairline is a little different. That's also a sign.
Never noticed anything.
The guy doesn't notice about hair. But and she's tiny, she's small, but I mean she's catching up.
And what I do notice about this kid is that she does have a certain kind of determination in her, a certain kind of fury. It's like this kid, although she is not aware of it, you know how it was when she was a baby, but she had the will to live. So this willpower. Yeah.
And she's very much the same
again,
now.
Like, it doesn't translate 1-1 to like her because she doesn't remember why that is. But there's a certain energy about it, like.
Doctors called her resilient from the first day. And not long ago I was talking to one of the doctors and she said like from the first day she was doing things her way. She would literally tell the doctors how to take care of her. She would pull out the tube, she would pull out, like unintubate herself, like she would do all these things, like doctors like, oh, we gotta do this, but then it doesn't work.
She's a kid who expresses easily when she's not comfortable with something. Yeah. She's very like direct. Because she had a history in being discomforted.
She fights for what she wants. Like it has to be her way.
Oh yeah.
And we don't fight back.
No.
I mean.
No. I did notice you're much more. I mean, maybe it's a general thing, but you're much more forgiving in general. So good thing that I counterbalance that. Yeah, you sometimes
you stand your ground too, and you guys like butt heads sometimes, and
Yeah.
But I do like knowing her character, like I do allow her to have her way a lot.
Yeah, and so it happens, every couple weeks or months. Like, there's a moment sometimes when you remind me of with David, give the kid a break because,
I mean, I'm not trying to like spoil her. Like we've got our limits, she knows the rules, but I just trusted that with age she'll get it. And you notice she starts to get rules easily. Like she starts to be like, okay. without like fighting back. But there were the moments when she was too stubborn. Like, of course, there was certain boundaries, right? We don't like allow everything all the time and all times. That's bad for your kid. Like, we do what's safe and good for her, but still, we do.
And what's also interesting is, seeing you now, the kid, like no one would know you, because you're not at all overly protective, controlling at all.
Not at all.
And you were just so intentional about being present with her in the very early stages that now you're like you just let go.
I let go. I am present when I'm present with her, and I'm very present. She knows very much how much I love her. We both express love to each other all the time.
No, she definitely had an outstanding way of expressing affection.
Yeah.
When I first got to know her, as a kid, like 4-year-old, she was saying so often, I love you.
Yeah, she says that to a lot of people that she
And you
loves.
didn't teach her to say that, per se, but she got so much love from you so early on, and she knows that. She knows that she's loved.
The one thing that, like, people ask me often, like, how did you go through this? Like, what gave you strength? What gave you faith? And there's two things that I can that I think stand out is I had this strong understanding that if I, in those moments when I was in the hospital and she was born, if I allow fear to take over, it's gonna bring me down to this, like, let's call it low vibrational state, right? And a child needs like a very high vibrational mother who exudes faith, exudes love, exudes healing. And I was just surrendering into God's hands and just saying, look, it's your way. I trust no matter what. Please hold her in your arms. Please hold me in your arms. And I would just put like songs that are like calming Christian songs, like, and songs that give me faith, that allow me to feel safe and held by God's presence.
And so probably at that stage, it wasn't determined how it's going to end up. It was a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you choose to be in high vibration energy and,
it was a choice.
Having faith and focusing on the good outcome and visualizing that and trusting your intuition, sort of that grows. So somebody who wouldn't have that intuition, it might be a self-fulfilling prophecy in the other direction.
Mothers often message me on social media and they're like, I'm going through this and I'm going through that, and they ask me questions. They ask me like, how did you do this? This is so scary. I see how tough it is for women, and even in like less tough situations, like the amount of fears and anxiety that can take over your mind. And what happens is if they take over your mind, you're no longer capable of being present for your child.
Right.
So number two that I was going to share is like, I was present for her.
Yeah.
Like I was able to put all these fears, anxieties aside, knowing that later I will have to deal with them, because it would be like, it's impossible to just suppress it and just like shove it down somewhere deep inside. Like you're going to have to deal with it later through therapy or whatever it is, right? But in that moment, I just asked for God's grace and strength to allow me to be there fully with her, present in love, being there with love, being there with gratitude. And that moment when she was born, she was crying, like this intense gratitude came over me, and I carried it into the 4 months. I was just every day grateful that she's alive, grateful that she made this new milestone. And there was a million milestones. There were so many tiny milestones that she had to overcome, and each one carried like so many risks. And I have these like big tables, like every day how much weight she gained. This day she lost. This day she gained 3 grams. Every tiny gram she gained, like I recorded and I was celebrating. And every scare that I had, I was just listening to like, what is it that's next? And the thing that I appreciate about the doctors, whenever I ask them like, what's best now? They say, look, it's a catch-22 decision. If we remove her from ventilator too early, if we unintubate her, too early, we have to re-intubate her, which is a bit traumatic.
Yeah.
But if you keep her too long, the ventilation damages your lungs. It causes damage to lungs. So then you can have more severe lung disease later. So I'm like, so when do we unintubate her? Like, they're like, we don't know. And I'm like, how about we do it now? And they're like, we could, but what if it's too early? Then you're going to be upset that we have to unintubate her. I'm like, what carries more kind of damage, reintubation or more days on the ventilator? They're like, well, the reintubation is okay. It's more like we don't want the parents to freak out because we have to put the ventilator back. And I'm like, just do it. And they did, and I was right. They did not need to reintubate her. She was ready. But imagine if I wasn't kind of like listening and pushy and asking questions. They could have kept her in the intubator longer, and it's the right decision, and her lungs could have been way worse. Another situation, there's a kind of like, you can call it, it's called patent ductus arteriosus. It's a vessel that connects, when you're in the womb, you don't need to breathe. So there's like a special vessel between your pulmonary arteries and aorta or something like that, roughly. And when you are born, full term, you make like a big breath, the pressure in your lungs changes, and that little kind of connecting artery tube closes because you don't need this anymore. You have proper lung circulation now. So in premature babies, this patent ductus arteriosus doesn't close. And this causes spells. Spells is like when oxygen goes low because there's no proper blood flow in the lungs, right? And around, I can't remember, 27-ish weeks, they prescribe Tylenol, acetaminophen, because somehow it can close the ductus arteriosus, and Tylenol is quite safe. If it doesn't work, then they prescribe ibuprofen, because it can also do something that would change that vessel. But she was so tiny at 27 weeks, impossibly tiny.
How tiny?
I believe like 500 something grams at 27 weeks, not even, maybe less than.
Like this glass?
Well, she was born 370 grams. Try to imagine that's like less than a pound of butter. Imagine a pound of butter, and she was less. Yeah, so 27 weeks, they gave her Tylenol, it didn't work. The next step was to give her ibuprofen, and all of a sudden, I don't feel peace about it. I feel like anxiety. I start going online, start researching, and surely there's not much data in giving ibuprofen in babies so little, and I knew ibuprofen can cause gut problems, and gut problem is like #1 cause of premature baby's death. And I was like, doesn't sit right. I don't want to give her ibuprofen. And even like the most experienced doctors were like, but that's a protocol, we do it and it works. But I'm like, how often does it cause gut damage? They're like, it could happen.
So you researched this yourself?
There's Facebook groups, research articles, all kinds of stuff. And I was on research articles all the time.
You are researching things fairly often when it comes to
I had like first, second year science background, so I had some background in this, and I'm just curious. I like reading research articles. And then, so I have this meeting with doctors. I'm like, what do you think about not giving her Advil? And I'm like, what would you do if this was your child? Of course, they're not going to answer a question, but they're like, look, there is an approach recently that sometimes you're okay to wait because later on it'll close by itself. But if it doesn't close, it can cause all kinds of organ damage. So if you keep it open, it can cause all organ damage. If you give ibuprofen, it can cause gut damage. So like, we prefer to give ibuprofen, but you are absolutely right. It can cause gut damage. And then I remember like other doctors, nurses were convincing me. I was like, okay, fine, let's just give it to her. Because they were trying to tell me like, I got to do it their way, then no better. And the moment I said, let's do it, I had this like intense like anxiety. Like, this is not okay. Something's wrong. And I'm like, no, I changed my mind. We're not doing it. And it closed by itself in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, you got some strong premonition ability.
It was just me being so connected to, like, you want to call it Holy Spirit, God, whatever it is. For me, it was Holy Spirit, Christ, Father God.
I would say, I would usually call it like a higher intuition.
Yeah, I mean, higher intuition can come from a certain source. Like, we do have it in us once we're connected to that source. That's how I see it. But that's it in a nutshell. Now, you learned a lot. With this pregnancy, our next milestone is the anatomy ultrasound. This is what I'm most anxious about. Like, I want to know that my placenta is formed okay. The day I find out at 18 weeks that my placenta is okay, which I think it will be, it'll be like indescribable. Yeah.
But you already decided you don't want to go through this whole process again.
Which process?
Of being pregnant.
When?
Like you're gonna have 2 cesareans.
Oh, you mean if I want a third child? I don't know. I didn't even think I would do a second child.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it took a very special kind of man for me to be like, okay, I can do this. But with the... With... I think what I would want to leave you guys with is that no matter what you're going through, no matter how scary it seems, like no matter how many risks there are that something could go wrong, there's always like a foundation inside of you that you can rely on. And for me, it's the connection to the higher power, to God. For me, the most direct connection is through Christ. And this is what ultimately saved my daughter, I believe. Like, doctors were saying, look, you're somebody weird, special, because this seems like very impossible what's happened. And I remember this nurse who was kind of an atheist, and she's been a neonatal nurse for 25 years. And she was our night nurse, and she said, look, I don't believe in God, but what is happening with Ivanna must be God, because this is impossible. And I'm like, wow, if a nurse with 25 years of experience says that, wow.
Yeah, this is operating at the level of like, we can't explain why this works or how it works, how this improbable thing can occur.
Yeah, I've always believed in miracles, and I was just one of those fortunate people who experienced such a big miracle. And this video that has 15 million views, I know it brought so much hope to a lot of mothers. Like, sometimes I come to church where like I shared about it, and a woman would come to me and be like, if you didn't share your story, I don't know how I would have gone through it. Like, I was watching your video and it helped me go through like my high-risk pregnancy, and everything's okay. But it was such a like light in the midst of the darkness for me. And now I believe this pregnancy is a big miracle, and you see me every day, I'm pretty calm. And a big thing that you taught me, and when I had Ivanna, when I was pregnant with Ivanna, I didn't have the skill. You taught me to express my needs unapologetically, just directly, without any fear that, you know, my needs would be unmet. A lot of us, like, when we need something, we immediately put pressure on the partner, like, oh, if you don't do this, I'm frustrated. And you already say it with kind of like an expectation of frustration, and it's not the same. Like, you could do this absolutely with taking responsibility that this is your need and have freedom to express it.
Well, yeah, so my personal highest value has been for the longest time my health, my personal health. So I would myself always draw a boundary where my health gets in danger. Or stress, for example, is another thing, right? Experience of that. I would be very vigilant with anything that spikes my stress, right? Which also then sometimes, triggers me that, we go about things a little bit differently, and something that stresses you doesn't stress me, something that I get stressed about, doesn't phase you so much. But what I did notice definitely during this pregnancy, you were forced, or you decided, or had to decide to stop putting so much pressure on yourself, if that's the right way to put it. More like you're more seeing the need to be relaxed in many different ways, which is something I myself had sort of specialized in almost. Relax a lot, and then you can also, because I know I can be, very, very energetic and fast and strong, and in certain contexts if I need to. So to not be, for example, so absorbed by meetings and responsibilities and plans and planning and social interaction, work and all of that it stresses you and occupies you the whole time, because now you have to be there for the womb and what is growing in there. So I definitely enjoy you being so allowing to yourself, even if it's sometimes in stark contrast with how you would act before that. You would definitely just take the time. And in most countries, or like not most countries, but well, let's say in many of the Western countries, women would get time off for being pregnant, or at least after pregnancy. Now, as an entrepreneur, no one tells you, oh, sure, you can stay home and we're going to keep paying you. So despite this responsibility, you see, okay, I gotta stop certain things and I'm gonna start certain like very relaxing things that usually you wouldn't allow yourself. Because again, like the baby needs it, the baby wants it.
But I mean, it's because you are providing this container where I can like just pretty much, you've been doing everything around the house, everything. So my focus is like get a lot of sleep, get a lot of rest, and like of course I'm an entrepreneur, I have to work a lot, but at least like I'm allowing myself this new phase of like a lot more space for rest. And if I also had all these responsibilities on top of it, like cleaning, dog, driving Ivanna to school every morning or picking her up, this, like you took all of that on, and to me this is amazing.
Yeah, I feel like you just are allowing yourself so much to listen to that physical intuition that tells you, I need this right now, which I think outside of a pregnancy you would more easily not listen to that as much and stick to the plan and and I was like, no. If there's some weird thing you feel like you want, or then you just allow that. And I have absolutely no problem with that, because I understand, that's at least that's what I think is being pregnant. All kinds of weird things pop up, and you're like, okay, if that's what's needed, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, not every woman even realizes that sometimes all you have to do is just express what you need, and the guys can be there and do it. Like, it's easier to just like take everything on in yourself and be like, I'm strong, I can do this. And it's true, I'm very strong, but it's just nice to know that I have your support. And even before pregnancy, you taught me before pregnancy. It's not like it's a new thing. Like, you taught me that like, if I can tell you what I need, you're there with this kind of like humble spirit. And if you cannot do it, you're not going to force yourself to do it, right? Or if it's overboard, like, but at least I can freely express and we can talk and decide. And I don't have to, like, oftentimes, like, let's say in a couple, a woman assumes that guy should know that. The guy should know that I need this and this and this.
Well, sometimes you do say,
and then if he doesn't,
say that too. But you're so good at very quickly afterwards saying, it's the hormones.
Yes.
It's the hormones.
I mean, PMS and hormones, it's inevitable, or pregnancy hormones. But like, it's just oftentimes, like you said, if you assume, you make an ass of yourself.
Well, if you would spell it out.
Yeah. But oftentimes, like, both ways, right? Like, we assume that, let's say I as a woman assume that the guy should know that because I'm pregnant, I need this and he should do everything. And if he doesn't do it, I'm immediately going to be offended and frustrated. And I haven't even told him, look, this is what I need. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, it's easier to just follow a clear instruction from you than to have to interpret unspoken feelings, although it would be nicer, I understand.
Yeah. And there's lots of cultural things we're not aware of, right? So it's just very simple. Express your needs. Don't put expectations. Don't don't get attached to the outcome, right? If it's about expressing, you take responsibility for what you need, and it doesn't matter is that person going to meet it or not. You did your part, and you'll be surprised. Most of the time, he will be there for you. But if you don't do your part in taking responsibility for your health, for what you need, then how's the magic going to happen? Then it leads to frustration, conflict, drama, and all of that. It could easily be avoided.
And even if I would get triggered, or sometimes I feel like I want to complain, it's not. I know it's not about you. It's not about you as a person. It's just a reaction to something in the moment. It's never making you wrong for doing that or saying that. And sometimes, usually when there is some kind of confrontation in our communication, we soon realize that we both had been probably not expressing something like, I'm actually hungry, I actually really needed to go to the bathroom.
Exactly.
I actually wanted something that I didn't share before, and now right?
Yeah, I love that, like, with you, like, you never take things personal, even if, like, I'm freaking out and have PMS or hormones, but you just give me the freedom to express. I give you the freedom to express. We can talk about it, we can quibble, but we don't, like, go to personalities and take things personal. Like, it's very freeing for me in this relationship. I appreciate it. What would you say to guys who have a pregnant wife and who is an anxious pregnant wife?
I don't know. I mean, for one, every situation is different. I only know you in this state. I don't have any other experience or reference. So, well, with us, it's just what we just talked about. To say what you really feel, and don't put that away to please each other. I don't do anything to please you.
Yep.
I don't do anything to please Ivanna. If I'm not in the mood for something, I might say that bluntly, and sometimes it might be unfair, and I change my mind 3 seconds later. But like, it's not trying to be polite. It's not being ashamed of little things, not being too like annoyed by the other's little habits. It's realizing, well, that's I'm choosing this. I'm choosing all of this. Yeah. I'm completely responsible for all of that. Everything I'm complaining about, in the end, I'm responsible for.
That's what I love about you, and this is what you taught me a lot. And just speaking your absolute truth, unapologetically, being completely authentic, but yet providing so much love and care and support. Like, you're the only person in my life who asks me so often, like, how can I support you now? And it's precious. Thank you.
Well, I like being in a supporting role. I think that's what I'm pretty good at.
Yeah.
So I don't have to do that kind of work that you do. I can support from the back.
Yes. And with that, we will with that, thank you for listening. Stay tuned, because I will share more about the journey. It's only 15 weeks. If there was something that you liked, something that gave you an insight, thoughts, questions, feel free to share in comments, and see you guys later.